wait a minute, let's play it in the key of F. Okay. We know F, if we make F number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we know where the chords are, right? Wait a minute, what about in the key of C? Well, we'd start with we'd put the root C, make that number 1, and do a major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, when transposing, use these numbers. Take a song, write down the numbers, you know, of how it's laid out, and then you can go to any key and just whatever key you put the root on, then those chords will fall right into place and it'll fit. So, let's get back to our diatonic. The 5th chord is D. There's something special about D, and the special thing about D is the distance between the note D and the 7th note. Well, what is that relationship? Here's a D major. Now what happens when we add the C? There it is. That note is actually a flat 7 when you relate it to the root D. It's a flat 7. Of course, it just falls like that. Other chords that don't do that, but in the 5th degree of any key, it falls like that way. So they call D, also can be called a dominant 7. That's why they call it a dominant 7. Dominant, I know you can't read it. 7, we'll just call it D7. Now it can, if you play without the 7, it's a major, but we're going to call this a D7 because of this relationship from D to C. Now if we add the 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we'd add the E note, and we'd have a D9. We call it a dominant 9. I don't know. If you add the 7 with it, I don't know if we call it dominant 9, but we call it a D9. I don't think so. Look, a D9. It's still a major. That's a D9. Let's play in the major with the 11, the E note. So it'd be just a D9, and it would fit into the key of G. Same thing would apply for the next one, the D11, which would be G, the note G, and the D13, which is the note B. So what we have here is a D dominant 7, a D9, a D11, and a D13. You play these notes with any one of these to get those 9, 11, and 13 to get that. So, the next one is E. We count 1, 2, 3 for the 3rd, which is G. The distance from E to G is a whole step and a half, so that makes this a minor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we add a B. B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We add the note D to these, and we're playing an E minor 7, right? And E minor 9 would be F sharp. And E minor 11 would be an A note. E minor 13 would be C. You add a C note. You add a C note to any of these three, and you've got E minor 13. Okay? So that's why when we have you see a chord and it says 9, 11, or 13, they're identifying the distance That note, that specific note, is the distance from the root of that chord. Easy to understand, right? So, E minor. We add the D note. And that's an E minor 7. E minor 7. Let's add an F sharp. E minor 9. What if we add the A? E minor 11. Now what do we add to C? E minor 13. If you know the root, you can find any of these relationships, 9, 11, or 13. And sometimes when you look at sheet music, you'll see flat 9, sharp 9, flat 11, flat 13th, you know. Because in jazz, you know, they're going to be doing a lot of that to you. That's plus 9. That's flat 9. How about plus 9, flat 9, root. Okay? That was plus 9 on the 5th chord. Hear the dominance, the tension. Jazz is all about tension and release. Listen to it. Kind of mellow. There's a little tension, but if with the plus 9, adds a little more. And then release. Okay? And jazz is usually a 2-5-1 progression. What does that mean? 2-5-1. Let's do that in the key of G. Let's do a 2, A minor. Let's do a 5, which was a D. But let's do a D9. And then a G major 7. 2-5-1. Okay? Now let's look at the 7th. The 7th is an interesting chord. Let's start by putting the root, F sharp, and then you start counting. 1, 2, 3. F sharp to A. What's that distance? What is it? It's a whole step and a half step, right? F sharp, A. Not quite 2 whole steps, it's a whole step and a half step. That means F sharp is a minor. Now, let's look at the 5th, because this chord I mean, if we look at the chord in each mode, because each chord fits the 7 modes in music. And F sharp is the Locrian mode, which was discovered by Paganini. So we look at the 5th, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a C. The interesting thing about the distance between F sharp and that C note is that it's a flat 5th. None of these other ones have a flat 5th. The distance between G and D, A to E is all perfect 5ths. But in the 7th degree, the distance from F sharp to C is a flat 5th. So we can call F sharp minor flat 5. F sharp minor, flat 5. Now if we add the 7th, we can call it F sharp minor 7 flat 5. If we add the 7th note. What note is that? Well, if we follow this progression on the 7th line, it just goes A, B, C, D, E. Pretty simple. If we keep following that, E, F sharp, after that is G, A, B, C, D. So these notes is the distance, that's the 9th away from F sharp, that's the 11th away from F sharp, and this is the 13th away from F sharp. So if you played a F, these 3 notes, and add the 9, it'd be a F minor 9 flat 5, F minor 13 flat 5, F minor 11 flat 5. But it'd always be a flat 5. Alright. So how many chords do we have here? Well, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 chords in the first row. These 3. You add this note for another chord, add this note for another chord, this note, and this note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many rows do we have? 7. 7 times 5 is, you've got 35 chords. 35 chords here. And they're all diatonic. Why? Because they're built from these 7 notes. Built from those 7 notes. So in the key of G, G major 7, A minor 7, B minor 7, C major 7, D 7, E minor 7, F sharp minor 7 flat 5, and G major 7. That was all these on these first 4 rows, those notes right there. Built out of these 7 notes. That's what makes them diatonic. You can do this to any key, and that makes any key in the 12 keys. You can also do this to other kinds of chord, like melodic minor chords, Asian chords, chords that kind of outside the system used by Bach and England and the English people. There's other scales in Asia that you can apply this to that would build some really interesting chords. It'd be kind of fun. But for right now, if you're a songwriter and you're stuck into where you want to go, you know, I need to change. I need to go to another chord. Well, I've got all these choices.